nice, quiet, rainy morning. I'm in Atlantic City, New Jersey area, Brigantine, New Jersey to be exact. And it was really hot this week. And then we got some storms last night, breaking up the energy, and it cooled off. And this morning was peaceful. So I slept really well last night, had a really good morning meditation and some morning yoga, and took a shower. And I get to start my day with you. And then I've got some clients in a little bit, and I just cannot complain. What about you? How are you doing, sister?
This week has been a crazy week for me, so it's just been energetic and all over the place.
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, I feel like the energy. Can you hear me? Because my headphones are being weird. So can you hear me? Just
I can hear you. It's just quiet on my end, but I think that's my audio side, not yours.
okay, as long because
Ursula's here. Hey, Ursula.
Hi, Ursula.
Ursula's here from Atlantic City. She is an amazing astrologist and one of the co-founders at Sea Goddess Healing Arts. Ursula, if you can let us know if I'm talking too low or too loud, or if there's any issues with Crystal, that'd be awesome. But we're just gonna roll with it, and we're so excited for everyone else who's tuning in.
Hopefully, people could tune in. That would be great. So, actually, this week I think has been a really rough week. I feel like, I don't know if you can tell, I've been crying for the past hour. This Indigenous people find, is really getting to me, on such a soul level. Whew. I'm really struggling with all of the children that are being found.
Like the Indigenous children?
Yes, it is just killing my soul a little bit because first off, these people didn't deserve what happened to them. But it's I don't want to be mean and I don't want to be ugly, and I'm trying to find this happy medium center, but I'm pissed. I'm so pissed about the situation. It's something that I feel like it's still going on. It's I don't want to talk crap about the Catholic religion because it's not really my place to talk crap about that. I'm sure there's great. But if we look back at history and what's taken place with the Catholic religion as a whole, I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with any of it at all. And my heart just goes out to every single person, family member that has had to deal with the loss of their family members. I mean, they just disappeared. They didn't hear back. I mean, what the hell? And it's just so frustrating to me. But then you also have all of the children who have been molested and them having to live with this and their families having to live with this and years of things being swept under the rug. And it is I feel like it's beyond time that we start holding them, the church, the higher people that are just not allowing this to come to the surface and holding their own people accountable. They need to be held accountable. I'm just so sick of this happening to children and people. It's just insane to me in this day and age. And I understand that's got to come to the surface. We know why this is happening. We know why it's taking place, but it doesn't make it any easier to digest how something this horrible could have taken place.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being open and honest and vulnerable with us and sharing that, because it's not an easy thing. And the hard thing, one of my favorite things that I heard this year was via the Magenta Pixie and Dr. Christiane Northrup. And they said, thank you for making it. What did they say? I don't want to mess it up, but I probably am. They said, thank you for making it so bad we can't not see it anymore. And the hardest part about all of this is, just like you said, it's been happening forever and ever and ever. And because it's so hard to look at, and because we all experience what's called cognitive dissonance, where, we know these things go on, but it's so hard for us to actually take a look at it or unveil it. And then when we do, it's like the fire gets put out. It's like other people don't get, as interested in it. I don't want to say, excited or anything like that, but it's interested because they care. But when things get so incredibly dark and traumatizing, and that energy seeps out of it, it can be really hard for some people to take a look at it. And like, I do agree that there's hires that be that suppress this information, but I also think it's we, the people, who are going to be able to start healing it within ourselves and within one another, because every single family line has been touched by some sort of trauma or drama. And, you know, the generations that came before us, they didn't have the opportunity to speak the way that we do now. They didn't have the opportunity, you know, there's certainly things that we are still suppressed and oppressed on, but every generation we get a little bit better at it. And like, you know, the people who came before us, they went through so much trauma and drama, they couldn't even talk about it.
They couldn't,
you know,
not
they
at
had
all.
to put it in a different part of their human in order to, you know, keep going. And that's the hardest part about this. And so, you know, for me, I'm someone who I used to see all that in psychic flashes my whole life and like know that this was always happening. And I'd always had all these past life flashbacks. Yeah. And like weird things. And then people would come up to me, whether it was when I was a social worker or a bartender or just fucking in the street, like it doesn't matter. Like people would come up to me and start telling me stories about things and abuse that they had experienced that sounded similar. And it was alarming how like so many similar things were happening in so many strange places all over. And it was like my confirmation for a lot of the visions I'd been getting and the things I'd been shown by spirit. And as hard as it is, you know, to acknowledge that, yeah, there's mass graves everywhere that were put in by, you know, people trying to change other people and trying to make them obey or switch to their culture or their set of beliefs, and or just thought that because of whoever they were, that they were so little that, you know, they deserved to just be expunged and expelled and taken out. And so as hard as it is when we uncover a lot of these mass graves and it's hard to know and uncover the truth, we have to do our best to remember that, you know, thank you to the souls who came in to show us what this was looking like, to trust that each soul has its own incredible journey going on that we know hardly anything about. For me, I believe this is one lifetime in our many, many chapters and books of lifetime. And that when it comes to the whole justice thing, yes, we need some justice here, but a lot of it goes on in the astral as well, and in the non-physical, and things, you know, they get worked out in different ways. So when we're, you know, really craving that justice, we need to do what's best to bring justice in our own life and in our own selves, whether it's just speaking your truth and being honest and like, this hurts me, this breaks my heart to know that this existed and that this was living in these shadows, and like honoring those feelings coming up. It's beautiful. And vulnerability is a divine feminine quality, and it helps to make us stronger. And when we just let it move through, it helps clear that out for the rest of the generations and for the stagnant energy still there. I trust very much, you know, that most souls, you know, are at peace. And you and I can definitely talk about that because Crystal goes and visits a lot of souls and does a lot of closer investigation on that than I do. But for the most part, like, this crazy earth school here is the living heaven and hell in a lot of ways. And it's not okay. But in order to heal it, you know, we need to acknowledge it. We need to unearth it. We need to say that it happened. You know, we need to acknowledge the wound and address the wound and then patch and heal the wound. And the only way we do that is by us all continuing to start seeing it and acknowledging it. And the fact that it is upcoming right now, it is getting shared in mainstream media even and in different places. For me, I think that's a good sign that we're elevating enough to start to hold this for real and start to really wrap our lobes around healing, you know, all the systemic issues that we created via race and religion and beliefs and region and all of the things. And so it's scary. It's not fun. It's not, you know, what any of us want to see. But
nobody wants
for
to talk
me,
about
it's a sign that we're really on the path to starting to heal, because we got to know about it, to acknowledge it and to patch it and to tend to it and to heal it.
Yes. So this week has been a week of like all of everything. Like my Sunday started out with me having dreams about my clients that I was going to have this week. And it was all about mental illness and spirituality. And so this whole week has been such a heavy, energetic week for me. And my guides were like, okay, Crystal, like in the dream on Sunday, it was so very clear. And I didn't really realize what was taking place until I got to my client that day. And then I was like, oh, crap, because I was having a dream about their family member that was struggling with mental illness and but thinks that they're thinks that they're gifted. And I'm like, okay, you can be gifted and also have mental illness.
Totally.
You can have both of those. They go hand in hand. The signs of being somebody who is a gifted human being that doesn't know you're a gifted human being looks a lot like mental illness. And it really just depends on what it is that you have, because it all goes hand in hand. I mean, I could sit here and talk about how an empath could look bipolar, or um, also look on some form or fashion like somebody that has, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like, you have to understand that there's a lot of energy play here too, but that doesn't take away our accountability in how we act, because spirit would never ask you or give you something to act in ugly, erratic ways. And so if you think you have gifts, and I'm saying that not to be mean to anybody who thinks they have gifts, but if you do think that you're gifted, that doesn't give you the ability to just discount the fact that you may be struggling also with trauma, which creates and stems that mental illness. And so my guides were like, you got to start talking about this a little bit more. And I'm like, that's an uncomfortable conversation. And I don't know that I want to start talking about that, because to me, it's not really my place, in the sense that I haven't been to school. I don't have, a doctorate. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist, and I haven't been to school to do any of that stuff. I don't know what that entails, but I do know what it entails for somebody who is gifted, who has been called crazy their whole life because they've been on an emotional mental roller coaster, and also have been seeing things their whole life. So if I would have went to somebody, definitely would have been bipolar, would have been somebody who struggled with like social anxiety, all these issues and problems. And it's kind of one of those situations where it's like, you guys are asking me to open this door. But at the same time, I feel like why they're doing that is because people still need to heal. And sometimes healing needs that, like, I don't know, that bridge. So like there's a big gap between the issues that we're dealing with in trauma before we can actually get to using our gifts to help other people. And that bridge may be medication or therapy or counseling or something to get us over that hump until we can maybe start utilizing our gifts. So this whole week has just been such a roller coaster for me, emotionally and mentally, in dealing with trauma, healing, mental illness, the reason why people think the way that they think. And that's what my whole week has been. So it's just been an overwhelming week for me. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to touch these things, because holy Pete, man, they're heavy things to touch. They're heavy things to talk about. And I don't necessarily feel like I have all the answers, because I'm not a doctor. And so it's hard for me to talk about these things.
Well, I think we're all navigating those things together, and I honor you and I thank you for raising that awareness and laying it on the altar, because that's just it. And in our magical world of spiritualness and misfit toys and all the things that we are, that's something that comes up a lot. I know for a fact I was, raised by family members who suffered with severe mental illness, and it was something that imprinted upon me. And I learned all kinds of ways to, survive from that, whether it was keeping my mouth shut and only being seen and heard, or feeling, like dimming my light because I felt too, like I was being too much or too loud or whatever it is. Or if I, as a teenager, I became like a little bit more sneaky and manipulative, and I'd lie, and like more of the toxic, traits would come out. And I just remember like waking up one day and just being like, this is exhausting. Like, I don't want to lie. I don't want to do all this stuff. Like, where did I get this from? What happened? And I was lucky enough to like notice my programming at the time. And I'm someone who's always like searched for this kind of meaning of life throughout my whole life. And so I was able to bring that into awareness a bit when I was younger. And then I went to school and I started studying it. And I had this amazing professor, it was like a marriage and family counseling course, and she talked all about the attachment theory and the things that happen when you're first born, and how how you're first cared for when you're born sets up the rest of your life, and how the rest of how you relate in relationships throughout the rest of your life has to do with that first year. And the more I kept growing on my own path of healing, and the more awareness I came into, the more I realized that mental illness, it's really caused and stems from trauma and drama and stress. And
It
and it being
does.
unhealed, and the things within myself, I was able to heal a lot. And like, I see it a lot, with family members and with friends and things. And this is something I'm very familiar with. And, I've seen this energy a lot with my clients and my community this week too. So like, this is very much happening for the highest good, because every summer we go through these retrogrades and eclipses and conjunctions, and things happen so that we can grow and evolve as souls. And I was talking recently about this whole mental illness thing, because it's so important to address it. And what do we do with physical disease, and discomfort? We address it, we look at it, we figure out what it is we need to do to heal it. And right now, one of the reasons I chose to leave, the system as it is right now and do what I do now and step more into a spiritual aspect, is because I wasn't finding a lot of healing happening in the psychological world. I was finding a lot of band-aids being put on, a lot of pills being described, maybe a coping mechanism or two taught. And then I was seeing victim empowerment. And empowering people for being victims, and people who, right? You can say, go ahead, go for it, girl.
You know my story.
Well, that's it, and it's just people, go ahead.
Well, when you're talking about that, first off, I hold a lot, like you did I feel like in listening to your story, I've listened to your story, the bits and pieces that you've shared with me over the past couple years. And I mean, like, I know this is a brain system that I have going on, but I do feel like you've healed yourself and learned to cope, understand, and receive things a little bit better than what I did. And I feel like that's just something that people kind of also need to understand. It depends on what you're supposed to be doing. It depends on where you're supposed to be going. And it depends on what your contract was, or how you're supposed to do things. My healing was messy. My upbringing was messy. Yours was messy too. But I literally had just my guides and spirit and readings to get me through the healing process. That's all I had. And so it wasn't like I think that's
potent though, because on our journey as, old souls and light workers and magic makers, you have to get to this rock bottom place where it's just you, so that you can unprogram and unattach from everything you'd been taught before and all the old habits that you'd been practicing before, and just be alone with yourself and spirit in order to find your truest, authentic self again, and find your own strength and resilience and sovereignty. So it's terrible. It's the dark night of the soul, because we're like, we're all alone. Like, I can't talk to anybody else anymore, and like all these things happened. But it's a divine thing that happens for us, and so many of us have to go through that. So I'm glad you mentioned it, and I wanted to just highlight how potent it is.
So it's like Amanda Stewart, she said mental health still comes with stigmas, and it does. And I feel like we need to get out of the sense of people, and I use the word crazy all the time, but I don't mean that people with mental illness are crazy. When I say I'm acting crazy, I mean that Crystal is all over the place. Or when I say that's a crazy experience, what I'm meaning is that this shouldn't be happening, and there's a lot of craziness going on with the situation. I think that people need to get out of the fact that if they are struggling with mental health or mental illness, and this is something that I'm so passionate about, because I channel for people, and I channel for veterans that lost their life to self-harm because of PTSD. I channel for people who are addicts. I channel with people who have dealt with depression, anxiety, and all these things. And the way that spirit speaks it, the way that they come through, the way that they teach what it is that they go through, is just so important for us to understand, because all of us are freaking dealing with it every single day. And I feel like that's what's frustrating, because to me, it's something so simple. It's such a simple fix, because it's really just diving into ourselves and understanding that we are responsible for our own actions and responses. And that's not what anybody wants to hear, because the pills fix it, right? And then going to the therapist.
And it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy.
I was abused, therefore this is how I am. Or I was diagnosed with this, therefore that's how I am. That's absolute bullcrap. It's bullcrap.
I agree. And I get my face bit off for it almost every day. Not almost every day, but often. Because I'm like, no, that happened to you. It was terrible. It wasn't okay. But it was an opportunity to grow you and to help you evolve. And you don't deserve to be attached to that pain anymore. You don't deserve to say, I'm stagnant. I'm not able to grow anymore. This is how I am. This is how I'll always be. There's always an opportunity to work on whatever kind of triggers it is, as severe as it can be. I've watched people people who have been severely physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, sexually traumatized and pulled themselves back out slowly, day by day, inch by inch, moment by moment, thought by thought, little decision after little decision. That's how you crawl yourself back out of it. But let me tell you, that's where the sweetness of freedom is. When you get to look at your past and say, you know what? Yeah, that happened. It was shitty. It wasn't okay, but it has no emotional pull over me anymore. It doesn't affect how I'm feeling today in this present moment or how I'm co-creating my future anymore, because I now know. And what happens is, as you go through that healing, what happens is you develop a trust with yourself and with spirit, and you start to learn things and see things in a whole different way. And no one else can do that for you. No one else. Everyone has their own amazing journey. No one can tell you when you see the 1111s or hear the whispers or the sign comes in for you or you feel the electricity through your body of tuning in and connecting in with spirit. Like, that's all for you. And those things do happen, for people as we're waking up and as we're on this path. And I think that's like the initiatory phase of spiritual awakening. Excuse me, is that like, oh my God, am I crazy? Like, what's happening? And some people get really confident and like want to share everything they hear right away. And you're like, oh, rein it in. Like, don't tell that person you saw their kid dying. Like, that could have been a past life, or that could have been, just something, or ego getting mixed up. And I think it's important as we start to tap in, because everyone is capable of it and everyone is gifted. But it's important to also hold it a little bit in a sacred container and hold yourself in a sacred container for a while and sit with it and learn about it and practice with it and experiment with it, instead of allowing it to overwhelm you or allowing it to put pressure on you to just like switch and do something, or allowing it to say, oh no, like, I'm not good enough or I'm inferior. There's so many things that'll come with that because our ego is attached to all the energies coming through. And either way, what's still happening is you're not being present. And my own kind of golden rule of thumb is like, once you can really like learn how to be present with yourself and others, is a good time to really start getting out there and doing it and experimenting with it. But the whole purpose of all of it, you are healed as the healing happens through you. So it doesn't matter if you're sharing a little message with someone at the grocery store, or if you're taking the time to really do your work and do the meditation and get into the presence. And a lot of times that's to go back to the trauma that happened, because every time it comes up, it's an opportunity to heal. So it's saying, hey, I'm still here. I'm still bothering you. I'm still wrecking your world today. What can you do to help me? And it's these tiny, small steps that help us to overcome it. But I have such faith in the human and in the person. And I don't think just because trauma happened or an injury or a mental illness that it's permanent or it's forever. I think there's so much opportunity. I think we've all just been victims raising victims. And there's so much opportunity for us to learn and grow and to free ourselves. And in order to do that, it takes the uncomfortable conversations. And, and it's okay. We're not for everyone. You're not for everyone, and I'm not for everyone. And all we can do is do our best on that path. And the times where we fucked up or screwed up or maybe overshared or didn't give like the best advice or this or that was all divine too, because we were all just always doing our best in the moment.
Yeah, see, like I first off, before we go any further, because I like to teach people about spirit, that's the one thing that I teach the most. First off, if you are learning your gifts, spirit, if you're talking to proper spirit, if you're actually talking to the spirit that you're supposed to be to help other people, they will never say harmful things about you or anybody else. And they also will not call out anybody else ever. Like, I've never had my guides call out anybody else and be like, oh, they're being this or they're being this. No, that's your ego. Spirit doesn't do that. What they do is they say, okay, well, let's pull ourselves back and look at this in a different perspective and maybe see where they're coming from and where their understanding is. And once you do that, if they're still crap people, well, then you're dealing with a crap human being. And so, like Mandy said,
or just like a damaged, broken, stunted human being at the time, because the thing is, we see the potential in them.
So like spirit is awesome. Again, this is where spirit's been giving it to me. We all have this light switch. Like you said, every person on this planet has this gift. Everybody can be psychic. They can be intuitive. They can be it just depends on you. And how spirit presents it to me, it's a light switch. We can turn the light on or we can keep the light off. It's up to us, completely up to us, what we do with what we have inside of us. And so you can be a beautiful person with a beautiful soul and still be and have asshole human tendencies. It just is what it is. that doesn't discount the beauty inside of you. It just means you have a lot to grow from in wherever it is that you're at right now. And so that's where empathicness, I guess, comes in, because a lot of what we deal with in our lives is seeing the good in people, because that's always usually what we see, but then they keep taking advantage of, keep manipulating, keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this. And then we're really confused because we're like, okay, but they're a really good person, but they're not choosing to be. Okay, they're making a choice every day to get up and be this, this, or this. And that has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with who you are, and it has nothing to do with your growth. And so step them back, makes those boundaries, understand, acknowledge that this is who they're choosing to be, and give them love and healing. And it's funny because people are like, well, I don't want them to heal. And I'm like, why not? Because healing is the most dramatic thing a person is ever going to go through in their life. It literally is waking up one day, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm sick of your shit. I'm done with you. And once that break takes place, once we get to that moment where we're done with ourselves, like we can't live with us anymore, things start to take place and the snowball starts to happen. And it's not an easy task. Healing is not an easy task. The reflection that we give off is not easy to see. And so wishing healing on somebody is going to help them in the most incredible ways. It's also going to help you if you give yourself light and you give them light, but it's also going to have them understand the I don't want to say the error, because but at the same time that's how I felt when I started receiving what I was giving out to the world.
I did too. I was like, oh shit, I had that wrong.
Yes. And then it's like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm doing, because that's what the karma is. It's a reflection so you can see what you're giving out. And it's not fun to see that. It's not fun to notice you're the jerk. You're the one hurting people. Yes, you've been hurt, and what happened to you is not your fault. However, how you treat people because of what happened to you is.
In my book, I'm writing a lot of my paragraphs on like the harder lessons, or like it's like I end it with, yeah, so I fucked that up. Because you learn through trial and error, you learn through relationships, you learn through the way you show up for yourself and for others. You learn about where and when you're getting triggered and how and why. And sometimes it's happening, for boundaries, like you said with empaths, when you're giving too much and and you're caring about everyone else around you and their needs all the time and not always, tuning into your own. Then sometimes, you'll get resentful, you'll get feelings that build up, you'll say things that because the energy just keeps getting taken, but you're not putting in your own boundaries. Right. And so it's so hard because it always comes back to you. But at the same time, when you're feeling that, like you said, repeatedly over and over and over with someone, then, it's an opportunity to reevaluate, are we in alignment for each other at this time? Are we on a vibration where we can co-create? It's important to also have energies that do create conflict and different things and stir stuff up. We are magical, amazing souls. And when you were talking about crazy, I was just thinking, for me, it's the energy. It's just like erratic energy.
Yes,
it's like when I see crazy, whether that's crazy in your head, crazy in your heart, crazy in like excitement of whatever's going on. It's an energy, it's a feeling, and when people were going crazy, they literally were. We were all taught to like sit and fucking work all the time and sit still and look pretty, and that was that. And if you had a feeling, like, forget it. That's why we were all called lunatics, because we go out and dance at the moon as women and release ourselves and let it out. And then they paired that with Luna, the moon, and then lunatic, because we would worship the moon or go out and like be tuned up with the moon. Then, so, you got to be careful with words, but it's how you feel, with what's resonating with you at the time. And, and that's the thing. If a word or something is triggering you, it's an opportunity to go deeper, to go in, to take a look at it, or take a look at why this is happening. Last weekend, we met a beautiful woman at an event we were at who was experiencing being triggered because of some trauma she had experienced in the past, and because of the type of environment that was set up right next to her environment that triggered that. And it was nice because she was very conscious, and I was able to be like, oh, and she, like, it was divine timing how we all came into each other and we were able to hold some space. And I made her laugh at one point because she's like, I'm like, the triggers happen for you. She's like, I know this. And I was like, so what can we do about this to like start bridging it into empowerment? Like, how can we feel it? How can we acknowledge it? And then what can we do to release that energy so that, you know, you can coexist with this? Like, this sucks, but it's also such an opportunity to release the power this energy has over you. And she's like, I know, and I've been praying for it, I've been wanting for it, and it's hard what's happening. And I was like, I know it, sister, because that's how it works. And that's what the real awakening, it's in your real fucking life. It's in the day-to-day stuff, interacting with the people you love or the experiences that you're having, and how you show up as a genuine human being. You know, you can channel all day and share lovely messages, but if you turn around and, you know, you're treating yourself and others and everything else kind of like crap, or not being present, you know, that's the other thing to the empathy too. I think that we're also empathic to get the fuck out of our own heads and out of our own dramas and stories, and to go be of service to others. If you're walking by and you know someone needs a little help, whether it's a door being held for them or someone to talk to or whatever it is, bottled water, like, you know, like they need it's to get you often out of your own story that you're creating, out of your own negative thoughts that you're attached to, and be of service to someone else. And the healing will happen, you know, as it happens through you. And then all of a sudden you're helping. And then like, wow, my perspective, you know, you go and volunteer. That's what I tell like all my clients who are really stuck in it. And like, I just can't get out of this depression. I can't get out of this stuff. Like, I just don't even know what to do anymore. I'm like, well, then you just got to get out of your own story, and you got to go and tune into something else a little bit. Is that you or me?
No, I'm working with my hair. I got one piece of hair that's like.
I was gonna tell you, Crystal's growing her hair out. It looks so freaking cute. I just love it. But I'll be like, you know what? Get out of bed and go volunteer with puppies. Go like, you know, go do something that's going to just change and shift your energy. And then when you come back at the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think about all my stupid shit and trauma and drama. And like, I was able to do this and help this. And you know what? I can see where I could be a little more gentle with this, or how I could do it. Could be the silliest thing. I like to volunteer at the Marine Mammal Stranding Center here in Brigantine, and I was helping the founder, Sheila, beautiful, amazing woman, incredible lighthouse for the soul. But I was helping her fold shirts. And I was in there thinking, like, I'm so glad I'm doing this right now, because I am terrible at folding laundry. I'm great at doing laundry and hanging up the things that need to be hung up. And then everything else gets kind of shoved in my drawers eventually. I try to fold it. But I learned all these new ways to fold, you know, and I like learned that on Tidying Up with Marie Kondo like years ago on Netflix and stuff. And I was like, I needed this reminder. And, you know, it's just like just being of service. I was like, this is going to help me to get more organized when I get home. And like, thank you, angels, for like just putting this new way into my life of like how to do things like a little more efficiently. And it's the silliest thing. It's folding t-shirts, but it's going to make a difference in my life. And it taught me a new skill and a technique that will serve me that I didn't have to think about. It just got dropped in.
I love that.
Like, that's how it works.
So before we go further, we have people asking if we're doing psychic readings. Do you have your cards available? Are you wanting to do any readings or no?
Oh, hold on a sec. I'm going back. What was the question?
They were asking, they said, are you guys doing any psychic questions about future? I don't do future readings. And then we had, can I ask a question? Are you doing any readings?
Hi. Hello. Oh, awesome. I'm so excited. There's so many people here. This is great. I mean, we could pull a card or two if you want, Crystal.
I mean, I feel like I'm going to steal my cards back because I gave my son my cards. Remember the ones that I bought? And I was like, oh, I'm going to use them. Well, I didn't ever use them. And my son is wonderful at using cards. And so I gave them to him, but then he stopped. So I might get them back from him so I can just do it really quick. Because Spirit just doesn't, I feel like people think that like when you're channeling, it's just like this open all the time access to Crystal's head. And that's not necessarily what it is. Sometimes they give me stuff, sometimes they don't give me stuff. And so I would like to learn a different way in order to get information when Spirit's just like, yeah, no, nothing. But also I've had an energetic week, and while you're getting your cards ready, I'll keep talking for a moment. Because
I can do it too. And like, it just depends. And like on the days for me, it's like I channel when my cup is full, when I'm able to get up and take care of myself and I'm not, you know, overtired or there's not things going on. And if like I'm not well, you know, and if I'm having a rough day or a pain day, or like, you know, my Mandy is overwhelmed, then it's not a day, you know, for me to show up and serve. But on the days where I feel like good and I'm taking taking care of myself, Spirit's right there all the time with me. And it's easy to like tap in. So, each of us are different and each of us experience different things. And so for people tuning in out there, it just depends on who you want to work with. And some days, we're open for business and some days we're closed for business. Now, were you saying your heartstrings were pulling you towards getting some cards? Or no?
Well, I have cards. I bought cards and I love the cards. I just didn't ever use them and utilize them. I just never put time into them, I guess is what I'll say. I love the cards though. They're absolutely beautiful. So I have them, but I let my son use them because he's really, really good at them. I might just get another deck and let him keep those. But I want a different avenue for when I am a little bit overextended, because you were talking about getting out there and doing service. My path. Like I said, we've been a part of each other's lives for a couple of years now. I had to take a pulling in moment. Like when we started Radical Spirituality, I wasn't necessarily ready to get out of that space. And I think it's like finding balance between giving your gift and being a part of what that is, but also understanding when you're using that, because some people use it as a way like giving too much service. So then you're not really being present
Paying
for
attention.
yourself. And you're also not taking care of what needs to be taken care of in your life. And so what they did was they really pulled me back and they were like, halt for a moment, Crystal, because you've got to deal with you and you've got to figure out why this is happening, why you feel like this, why are you tired, why are you exhausted, why are you sick, why are all these things going on? Because when I gave to all of those clients that I had, which I absolutely love doing, I love doing that, it was giving me an opportunity to push myself aside and not pay attention at all to any of the red flags that I was receiving in my own life. And so right now what they're doing is they're trying to give me a balance. And so once I felt like I was okay enough to do that, that's when I started TikTok. And then I took another couple months off from TikTok not too long ago because I was going through some other stuff. Winter was heavier this year for me for some reason, energetically speaking. And so I had to take a couple months to kind of refill my cup again. And now I'm out there again and I'm helping people. And that just makes me feel good in being able to answer questions if it comes to me or if it doesn't. And so finding that place to hold space for other people when you can, but when you're starting to feel backed up, clogged, not present in your own space, if you're feeling chaotic, or if you're feeling like you can't really receive information for yourself, that's a time to kind of back off. That's a time to say, hold up, I need to express my boundaries and I need to take a step back. So Katie, that would be your answer. It says that you're having a lot of issues at work and home with wanting to help and fix everything. First off, that's an ego. I'm going to just say it because Crystal's that girl. You thinking you have to fix everybody else, that's a you problem. That's not a them problem. You need boundaries in your life because you can't stop World War III from happening. And as much as you love them and as much as you know them, you don't know what other people's paths are in life and you don't know what their journey is. And so we can't get too overcome by other people's journeys. We have to have them be accountable for their own path in life. It's not your job to fix anybody else's mess. If they come to you and they ask you, it's then on you to say, okay, I have the space for this. I can hold the space for this, or I can't. And if you can't, that's okay. That's when you need to put it back in their lap and you need to let them handle it themselves. Can you still hear me? I paused.
Oh yeah. And I like the advice you're giving to Katie. And I also wanted to add in a little bit too. I'm a caregiver, I'm a nurturer, I'm a mama bear type and all that. And I help my mom take care of my grandmother and my disabled uncle right now. I hold space with people all day with all kinds of stuff. And the most important thing is sometimes that is our calling. Sometimes that's what we're supposed to do. We're amazing, at being caregivers, or we're amazing at helping others to fix and solve problems. I feel like I'm pretty decent at that as a intuitive ascension guide. I'm basically a life coach with a spiritual twist, so some of us, it's important and it's our calling, but in order to practice it and do it, I learned from Princess Diana long ago that the most compassionate people in the world have to have the strongest boundaries. And not to say yes when you really mean no, because if you're feeling energetically no, it's because you don't have the energy for it at that time. And sometimes it's important to push ourselves a little out of our comfort zone, but sometimes when we're get into over giving, then it's important to pull ourselves back, and we have to design and create our lives in order to serve it. So right now, in the middle of this week, you're probably working full time and have crazy things going on. And it's about how to start incorporating that little by little in each day. I wake up each morning morning and take 1 minute to take 3 deep breaths and go over 10 things I'm grateful for, and then ask my angels to surround me in white and blue light and protect me. It takes 1 minute. My dogs usually have to go to the bathroom. They don't give me a lot of time. And then once I go and I let them, I do all that and I say, thank you, angels. I pray. And then I go and I let them out. And then as I'm letting them out, I take a moment and I think about what my intention is for the day. I tune in with my body. And sometimes it's just to be of service, to be kind to myself, to eat healthy, to do my yoga, to connect with spirit, like whatever it is that my intention is that day. And just that little thing before you reach for your cell phone and check out what your boss or your mom needs, before you tune into Facebook or the world or all the things happening. If you take just that little moment, it is so potent and it goes lifetimes in our self-care needs. And then it's important, like Crystal said, to tune in. How much sleep do you need? What are you eating that's maybe not making you feel that great? I go back and forth eating stuff all the time. And I know when my body starts to get imbalanced or when I'm eating, things that aren't really, serving me or in alignment, I'm like, oh, I got to go juice for a few days and cleanse back out and balance back in. And when your body is amazing and it knows how to heal and it pulls you right back in as soon as you acknowledge it. So it's really important for you to take some time for yourself, whatever that looks like. There's a bazillion free resources on YouTube. So you got Celian Arts has a YouTube page coming with lots of shows. Crystal has a YouTube page with lots of shows. I'm going to be starting to do tapping videos soon and techniques. There's so many free meditations and teachers. And at any point you can grab your phone and tune in to something else to help serve you, to help bring you back into you, or take 5 minutes of yoga with Adrienne's one of my favorites on YouTube. Do a 5-minute yoga, something that will help you go back into yourself. When you're saying, yes, or when you're saying no and people don't accept it, sometimes it's important for other people to get used to your new boundaries and just say, hey, listen, I was going at a pace that I couldn't keep up at. And a lot of times it's like people have friends or family members who want to talk on the phone for 2 or 3 hours a day, or keep checking in. And they're like, ooh, I need to take some of that time in order to better myself. I love you so much and I want to be there for you, but can we talk about all this on Tuesday at 2 and have some tea and set a boundary around it? Acknowledge them. I love you, because that's the other thing. We create all this anxiety, avoiding people a lot, or when we're afraid to say no. And then that drains our energy. So acknowledge it. Say, I love you. I'd love to be there for you, but I need to be there for me right now. Can we meet tomorrow and talk about it for a little while? Maybe for an hour? That'd be great. And when we just start to do that, that helps us to start putting in those healthy boundaries when we're compassionate people. So I hope some of those tools help you.
Absolutely. Everything.
Yeah. Who was wanting
so I'm going to go back.
Card.
So we have, I don't know if I'm going to say this right. I'm so sorry if I get your name wrong. Brenda, it says, are you doing psychic reads and questions about the future? So if you're still there, hon, what is your question for Mandy as she gets her cards ready? And then if not, somebody else, you can type in your question, because there were a couple of you that said that you had a question. But yeah, I'm also while we're talking about this, oh, I see shadows, lights in the corner.
Yeah, if you're still here and you want a card pulled for you, just type in the comments and say, I'm still here and I'd love a card today. And then we can catch up with it, because mine got a little delayed too. So Jay said, I see, this is what you're reading. I see light flash shadows in the corners of my eyes, but I'm not really sure, is that being caused from the tears or loved ones around? You want to go for that one first, Crystal?
So this is an opening symbol for me when my guides give me shadow play out of the corner of my eye. What they're doing is they're giving to me, when I'm in the middle of a reading, they'll do this to me. And that's my symbol for people who are either opening up to their gifts and seeing spirit out of the peripherals, which means that you'll be seeing spirit walking out of the corner of your eyes. And then when you go to look, they're not there. And that's just training us to understand that there is no such thing as imagination. What we see is what we see. Okay. Perception is 100% reality, whatever it's coming from. And so it's being more open and honest with yourself about what you're receiving and just thanking them in the moment for helping you open up and understand. You, with what I'm receiving with you, is that I do believe that some of your loved ones that have passed, because I have like a slew of people over here, three that are giving me I love yous, if I can get my hand movements right. They're making me feel like there's three on the other side that mean a lot to you. And so how they're presenting this to me is that the passing of one of those people kind of ignited you to want to get to know the spirit realm or the spirit understanding for yourself a little bit more so you could connect. And what they're doing is they're making me feel like you're very analytical in how you process things. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to open you up more to the empathic abilities inside of yourself and have those feelings being received in at the same time as seeing. So the next time you see something out of the corner of your eye, or you see something with your third eye, which usually looks to me like an imaginary person standing there, it's like see-through. We look, we blink, it's gone, and then we're like, oh, I thought I saw something, but I didn't. Yes, you did. That's your third eye. And so what they're doing is they're making me feel like what they're wanting you to do is ask questions in the moment and ask yourself what the feelings were that were represented with it. And so you learn how to understand fear, love, understanding, compassion, and kind of break down those levels to understanding if it is your loved ones or if it is somebody else. Because we can see other people too, not just our loved ones. So I hope that answers your questions a little bit. That's actually spirit, by the way. You're not crazy, and I don't think they're tears.
Yeah, and they were just showing me, for you, when I say they, I connect with the angels, that you're starting to open up to that perception, and you're often seeing spirits and angels and orbs and energies too. Yes, tears create a reflection and a light prism. However, it looks like they're showing the confirmation you're seeing, especially some angels coming in at that time to hold you, to soothe you, and to be there for you. So don't let it scare you. Don't think you're crazy. Just like observe. You don't need to put any pressure on it, and they'll deliver the messages that they want to when the time is right.
A lot of us put so much pressure on ourselves. Like, am I getting it right? What are they trying to say? What does this message mean? What blah, 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 blah. And then we put ourselves into such an anxiety frenzy that we don't know how to receive in those moments. And so really a lot of this is just taking a deep breath, setting your ego aside. And when I say ego, there's great moments for our ego in our life. But when it comes to that over-analyzation, we kind of need to be like, okay, calm down, killer. Set that aside a little bit, take a couple breaths, and just sit in the moment and allow it to come in and process it. And sometimes it'll give us something, sometimes it won't, but it will come to us when it's needed. And so sometimes that takes patience. And so just allow things to come through. Thank Spirit so very much for being with you and holding space with you, and thank them for being present in your life in that moment, and say if it is meant for something bigger, if you have a bigger message, thank you so very much for presenting it to me with clarity in my life where I can receive it. And I ask for that to be for the highest good of all concerned. It will come when it's needed.
Yeah. And Jay also commented and said that thank you, and that someone had passed recently, and it prompted Jay to learn more about the spirit world, which a lot of times, like when we go through grief, when we go through heartache, when we go through sudden tragedy or trauma, whether it's the loss of a loved one or an experience, it is often a gateway into spirituality, into learning more and connecting more. And you're not crazy, and invited in, with love and heart. I like to pray and just say, please surround me in white and blue light and protect me, and pass any messages for the highest good. We also have someone on here reaching out directly to people for readings that we commented on, and that's not good karma, and that's like not the nicest thing to do. I'm someone who, if you want a reading with me, it's really important to contact me. I feel like it's invasive to directly contact someone else for readings, and so you're welcome to be here as well, but it's not the nicest or the classiest thing to do. So that said, let's get back to all the other people.
Get them, Mandy.
Sophia, I am dealing with so much right now. It's insane. Any messages? Oh, wait, that was Lane. It chopped up. Sophia said, question/card pool. Am I progressing with my spiritual gifts? I feel stalled. Let's just take a look for angels for Sophia. Winter, take care of your needs, rest. And the wolf, actually, they're showing you what's going on with your spiritual stuff, and what's happening is you are progressing, and you progressed a lot, and then it's important to take time to integrate all the things that you've learned and just let them be part of your everyday life. It's really, you've matured a lot, and you're looking out and through different perspectives in a lot of ways, and Spirit's really proud of you for that. But there's all these opportunities in order to integrate and to be there for yourself. And so it feels a little stalled because there was like all this growth and all these things happening. But what's happening now is integration, and it's like really important for you to take the time to do that. And then they're showing there's also some discipline with that that's coming in, like continuing to show up, even though it feels stalled. On the days where it doesn't, feel like anything's happening, are the days where you need to show up for your magic the most. So whether that's taking a nature walk, they're showing like a lot of nature for you. So I don't know if you're someone who likes to meditate or get outside, or you need to. That's 5 minutes a day, sometimes of grounding your feet outside and your bare feet, or breathing. It's going to help us to feel held again and to get out of that what feels like a rut. But they're showing that it's not stalled. They're giving me a clear message that it's not that you're stalled, it's that you're integrating right now. And then more things are going to start opening and coming in. We've got Lionsgate coming up too, and that's going to be an active time for you. Did you have anything that you wanted to share with Sophia?
No, Sophia's doing awesome. I think Sophia just needs to give herself a big ol' hug. It's so hard when you're like in that first part of like trying to open things up and trying to like get back up on that hill and learn your gifts. There's a lot of stuff that gets downloaded all at once, and it's hard for us to kind of decipher in ourselves. And so be patient. Just be patient with yourself. Hold yourself with the same love that you give to everybody else, because they're making me feel like you have a hard time holding space out of love for yourself sometimes. And so they're just making me feel like they really want you to like coddle yourself right now, like love yourself. Take a minute, take a deep breath, and let it out. It's okay. It'll all be good.
Breathing's huge for everyone and everything. Like anytime anything feels stagnant, start breathing, start doing things to change all the flow and energy that's going through your body at that time. That is the quickest way to start not getting out of when we feel stalled or stuck. No doubt about it.
It's really funny because, once again, I'm so sorry if I get your guys' name wrong. I'm horrible with names, but I think it's Sarah? I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. I don't do psychic reads. I don't allow psychic information to come through, and I also don't do anything on love or money. And so I can't give that information to you. I don't allow that information through me. There's reasons why. I'm not going to get into it today, but there are reasons why I don't allow that energy through. If spirit, like if your loved ones were to come through and be like, yes, this is what we need, but that's not what I'm receiving. So I'm sorry to you that I can't give that information.
And the hard thing with the psychic stuff, it's like I get visions. So I think I'm going to say your name is Verindo. When you see me meeting my future spouse, is that the one we were just reading?
It is the, hey ladies, can you please guide me what will be the birth month or anything unique about the guy I will marry?
Gotcha. Okay. So here's the way I see love and things that are happening. So for some reason, my messages are a little bit more delayed, but then I also see, that one just came up too. And there's one above from Verinda saying a similar question. Hold on. I want to go back to it because I just had that one right there.
I can give.
Do you see when I will meet my future spouse? So I'm actually, Verinda, I'm tuning into your energy really quickly, and they are showing potentials. They're showing, I don't know how if you're with anyone now or not, but there's like a recent connection that you have had that is looking somewhat strong. But it looks like it's also like an opportunity. Whatever this next one is another opportunity to grow and to learn. And they're giving me kind of three. I'm feeling like it's going to be like maybe just a few years out actually, but there's going to be another relationship in between then that really grows you and helps you. And what happens is we as humans, we have all these amazing partners and soul family and twin flames and all these energies that we've incarnated with before. And so we'll come across people who are somebody who we've been married to in a past life, or that, we've had a great romance with, or something like that. It'll feel really right. And they're just showing that you may have had like a connection like that before. And it was meant to serve you for as long as it did. And then you were meant to love each other enough to kind of let it go. And then they're showing there's a relationship coming in that's going to be like, has a lot to do with like growing confidence in yourself or knowing what it is that you're actually wanting. And then they're showing you're very much like a master manifester. And it's important to like write down the qualities that you want, because then there's going to be another window where you like like manifest the exact person you want to be with at this time. And so there is really in our earth realm here, it's really hard, like in the time space continuum, because time isn't really existent out in the non-physical in the way that it is here. But they are giving me like a sign of a 3, and I'm feeling like they're giving me like it's a little bit longer, like about 3 years until you really feel or know that this is going to be your future spouse, because it's not a matter of meeting, it's a matter of you knowing, accepting, and trusting in it. And then I just wanted to pull you a quick card too for Verinda. The great severing, Mars energy, anger, conflict, softening to love. So whatever was going on, with this current relationship or past relationship or whatever's happening, they want you to know that's all leaving for you. All the stuff that happened in the past, it was to kind of blow it up and clear it out and make it so that you can get into it's. They're really focusing on you being clear on the qualities that you're wanting in a partner. I think there's some things that you've learned that you don't want, or maybe have settled for or tolerated, and you're not supposed to. You're supposed to allow like that energy to sever, and then it's going to soften you into a clearer reality of what it is you're wanting to call in. So nobody ever wants to wait. We always want to meet the love of our life tomorrow. But I got to say, I'm 35 and I'm single right now, and I've had wonderful relationships and I've had not so wonderful relationships, and every single one of them has grown me. And every time I enter a new one, it's a higher level of consciousness. They're all past lives. Almost every single one of them I've come across in many other past lives. And it's always an opportunity of where our hearts are and where our consciousness is at this time, if we can grow into something together. I have a wonderful friend who, was married to someone else, and they were like friends with other people for a long time, and nothing ever happened between them. And then once they got single, like they were able to fall into love in a different time. So there's all this divine timing stuff too. So they're just saying, keep going, be patient with yourself, and like wonderful things are coming. And anything that is anger or clearing out, it's meant to expand you. And sometimes, the most painful things that break our hearts, they break it open in order to expand into another level of love. So hang in there, sister. It's coming, but it's important to be patient at this time.
So, and I am going to tell you, so like I said, unless spirit gives me something specifically, like from above, from where they see, and it's usually guides regarding energy and relationships, I'm going to give to the lady who asked about the guy and like what birth month or whatever. So they're actually, what they're doing is they're talking about you, and they're giving you lots of love, and they're raising you up in their hand, which means to me that you right now are going through a growth phase in your life, and you're finally starting to get on track to what you always wanted in your life. And they're making me feel like right now is not necessarily the time to pull somebody into your structure, because what they're doing is they're taking me back, and they're making me feel like you've had a lot of like disruptions with relationships in the past, where people say that they're on the right track, or they say that they want the same things, but it's not necessarily what they really want. And so you're really in a place where you're trying to learn how to respect your own boundaries and also see things for what they are instead of how people play them out. And so it's paying attention not to words, but paying attention to actions. And so what they're doing is they're making me feel like before they bring somebody else into your life, and they're giving me about 1.5 to 2 years actually, but before they bring somebody else into your life specifically, they're making me feel like they want you to be more stable in your own footing, because I don't feel like you need any more bull crap in your life when it comes to any relationships. And we're talking not just boyfriend, girlfriend, we're talking friendships, family, all these things. They're making me feel like the dust is settling for you right now. So right now is not necessarily the time to bring somebody else in. And on top of that, when they do start bringing people in, it is going to be in a way that they want you to understand the boundaries for what you're personally trying to create. Because when we think about relationships, we tend to, I don't know why, I'm sorry, I paused again. I hope you guys can hear me. But we tend to hop onto the train track and or the journey of where our spouse is, instead of understanding that both of us have our own journey to live. You can't hop onto their journey with them. And so what they're doing is they're making me feel like they want you to be a little bit stronger in yourself and know that you don't have to give up all of your wants, needs, dreams, and adventures for somebody else, because essentially you don't need to raise another child. You need to have yourself set before you bring in somebody else that's also set. And so what they're doing is they're making me feel like they want you to be stronger emotionally, mentally, physically, and where you are in life before they bring that right person in with you. I do feel like you have pressure from the outside trying to convince you to meet somebody or get back out there and get back on the horse or whatever. And they're doing this to me, which means that they're also trying to get you to understand that it's divine time for when you want, not necessarily everybody else. And so please just know that what you're having and experiencing right now is a space for you to create, but also have fun. And so date, go out, have fun. And if you find somebody that really sets your heart aflame, then fine, hop onto that one. But at the same time, they're really wanting you to be aware of what it is that you're creating for you. You're a very strong person. They're making me feel like you are a very strong person that a lot of people probably don't necessarily understand. Strong women aren't necessarily understood sometimes by men, even though they want us in the beginning. Okay? And so once they like get you, and once they get into the relationship with you, then it's a very different twist. And then they try to take away some of those strengths because your strength is different from theirs, and it kind of emasculates them, whether it be man or woman. Energy is energy. And so what they're doing is they're making me feel like you need somebody in your life that is going to hold a torch to where you are, so you don't have to take a step or two down for them to meet them. Okay? So hold on to your presence, hold on to your power, and keep creating in that space of what you want going forward. Don't get off track for somebody else. Okay?
Aw, that was beautiful. Who was that one for?
That one was for the lady who asked about when, if we can guide her to a birth month or anything unique about the man that she's going to meet or the spouse that she's going to meet. I always say man just because I'm like that.
Perfect. Yeah. Let's just do like a few more quick rapid fire ones. Oh, sorry. I think there was a delay and I talked over you.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. It wasn't anything important. I just don't.
I was scrolling back up, but it looks like Lane, if you're still here, I'm going to pull one for you real quick. I'm dealing with so much right now. It's insane. Any messages for me? Angels for Lane. Lost lands, soul memories, and gifts. You've done this before. So what they're showing for me, for you, Lane, is that all these things that are going on, yeah, it's insane, but it's happening for you. And it's happening to help you really work on a lot of like your mindfulness and how you choose to react and to respond to things. They're showing that you're a bit of a sweet grace that comes through. And sometimes, you know, you do get pulled into conflict or things happen or crazy things go on. But a lot of it is to help you to remember. And when I say remember, it's remembering things from long ago, from past lives. You're having all kinds of like amazing spiritual awakening things and coincidences happening, and you're seeing signs, and it's all to recalibrate you and rock you back in. So as much as things are insane, it's important to take time as much as you can to tune into you. And if you can specifically go into meditation, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, you sit outside, get some sun and do some breathing. Rebecca Campbell is one of my favorite spiritual teachers, and she prays and says, please lead me, please show me the way. And sometimes if you just take a few breaths and you chant on that or invite that in, they're going to let you know. And they're showing part of some of this ancient remembering. I don't know if your dream space is active, but you might be getting some very specific dreams and flashes of past lives. And they don't want it to scare you. They want you to remember your strengths that you've carried in from other lifetimes that are serving you in this lifetime. So I hope that helps a little bit, Lane.
And
I've tuned in and said, oh my God, so good. I've been seeing shadow numbers. I've been seeing shadows also. And the number 11 has been appearing for months. Beth, I love when 11s and 111s and all those show up, because it's often a sign that we're loved, that we're held, and we're on our path. A lot of times it'll be, I joke around with my clients, but it's a simple thing. It's like, oh, you know, I was working and I had to do this and that. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I need to drink some water because I haven't had water in an hour or two. And I'll chug some water and I'll look over and it'll be 222. And for me, it's like my angels giving me like a high five, a pat on the back. It's a sign that you're living in alignment and you're doing the things that are going to serve your highest good today. Sometimes that's, you know, saying, nope, I can't go out tonight because I need a rest. Sometimes that's, you know, drinking the juice or eating the apple or taking the walk or the moments, but they're just showing you're on a really good path right now, sister, and to keep it up, and that those 11s are there for you. Jay, you are so welcome. Naughty face person.
I am going to say a quick one for Michelle. You were asking if Spirit had a message from you. So I am
Oh,
going to tell you
perfect.
that they do. I actually have a great grandmother on dad's side of the family that's stepping forward for you, giving you love and patting you on the right hand side of the back, which means to me that she's been a guide role for you in your life. She's also giving separation, which means that you didn't have the opportunity to know her very well in life. She would have passed prior to. She's giving me my bucket, which means that we just die of old people problems. There's a whole lot that comes on top of us, and we just can't get better. But she's giving you lots of love because she's also giving to me a lot of ups and downs in life, which means to me that you've had a different type of challenge in life where you've had a lot of ups and downs. But specifically, she's pulling the rug out from underneath your feet, which means to me that you've had at least two significant physical deaths in your life where you've had to regrow yourself and pick yourself back up based on other people's actions around you that you didn't see coming. And so what she's doing is she's giving you strength, but she's also making me feel like you struggle with being physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted, because she's also making me feel like it's been very difficult for you throughout your whole entire life to feel like you fit in. Because essentially, hun, I'm going to tell you that I feel like you're a little bit of the black sheep of the family, in the sense that you see different, you feel different, you're more empathic, and you understand people from a higher perspective in a different type of scenario. What she does want you to know is that what she's doing is she's giving me mom's side and dad's side very different from one another. She's giving me closeness and love to one side over the other, which means that one side of the family is probably a little bit closer to you than the others. But what she is doing is she's placing a baton from her heart to yours, which means that you and her are a whole lot alike when it comes to the love and the understanding. I think you need to be congratulated for all the moves that you've made outside of the box in life, when you've gotten out of your fear setting and did things outside of the box the way that family, friends, acquaintances, relationship people would have wanted you to do, okay? Because she's holding you at the heels and she's trying to fly away, which means that you have a lot of people that come into your life that try to hold you back when you want to excel, grow, and experience in different ways. And the reason she wants you to know this right now is because she's making me feel like you're getting out of a space where you were recently held back. And so she does want you to know and understand that, yes, right now things probably do look a little bit bleak for you, in the sense that you don't know which way to go, you don't know how to make the moves, and you don't even know, I feel like, how to process some of the emotions, the feelings, and the trauma that have taken place in your life. Because she's giving it to me coming up to the surface, which means you have a lot of healing coming up to the surface right now in a lot of different ways, and it's very confusing for you. However, she wants to remind you of your strength and remind you of that ability to see perspective in a different way, because those are the gifts that you were given in this lifetime to help other people see. However, she also wants you to know and understand that you don't need to help the people that came before you anymore. It's on them now to get their crap together, and it's on them now to kind of decide their fate, where they want to go, what their needs are in life, because they're putting you in a bubble, which means that right now is a time for you to kind of hold yourself at peace. It's a time for you to figure yourself out and give yourself the love that you've always needed in life, because I feel like you've kind of had the shoulders that had everybody's head resting on yours, but when you need the shoulder, nobody's really there. And so grandma wants you to know that from where she is, she's holding your heart, and she is here to have those conversations. And she's asking you to start documenting, writing things down, talking to her, channeling to her some of those deeper things that really need to come off your chest, because I feel a lot of heaviness with you, okay? She gives you lots of love, and she wants you to know that she's congratulating you for the moves that you've recently made, because I don't think that they were easy moves for you to make. And I think that you really had to make a choice that you didn't want to make. And I do feel as though it was probably really difficult for you to do, but she's congratulating you, because that's going to be the first step in the growth that you want to experience in your life. She does want you to know that nothing comes without hardship, but she is here to sweep the dust off your path along the way if you ask, okay? You have a couple other people that are also on the other side. I do have a father figure on dad's side of the family, sorry, that's also giving you love. I don't know if he's dad, grandpa, whatever. He's not presenting that to me. He's just giving you lots of love, and he's also presenting me with lilacs, which usually means to me that that's one of your favorite flowers. It's a favorite smell. It's something along those lines, because it's not a symbol for me. So please know that they are giving you lilacs, and they're also wanting you to know that you're being held right now in a space of love. So be patient with yourself, be caring with yourself, and understand that this space that you have is not necessarily to throw you off. It's actually to excel you, so you can remember what your dreams are in life, so you can get back on what your track is. And so please just know that they're giving you lots of love, okay?
That's beautiful. That was beautiful, Crystal. And I saw Michelle commented and she said it was very accurate and thank you for sharing and that, she was crying that it touched her. So that's a good thing.
I'm going to say yes, Michelle. I do believe your mom is over here. Well, you have a slew of people. I've got like 6 people that are standing next to me, so it's a flyby reading is what they're giving to me. So it's just a bunch of energy scattered.
Yeah. I just want to, because we have to wrap up and get going soon. Tina, thank you for your support. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. And Verinda had a lot of backup questions. And yeah, that's what this card's about, sister. The Great Severing, Mars energy, anger, conflict, softening to love. So it's important to be really honest with how we're feeling in this current relationship. And if you make those qualities that you're wanting in a partner and you do your best to be your best self, and like I think you said, yeah, you're currently with someone that you don't want to marry. So like what kind of like the Great Severing is kind of a confirmation to give yourself permission to take that space. Doesn't mean you don't love each other. Just means, you know what? I don't think this is the one for me. And I've been in that position before where I've had to say like, I love you, but it's just not in alignment and it's not the right time or place, or relationship for me. It doesn't mean you don't care, but sometimes you got to choose yourself. And what I was seeing in 3 years was like the marriage energy, the commitment. Could be the person you're with now if they grow and change, but it also looks like there's an opportunity of someone else coming in and then a deeper commitment later on. And it's important to be really honest with yourself. And sometimes, we need to let things go and trust our intuition. Not because they're not, sometimes they're wonderful, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just they're not meant for us and for our highest good at this time and for our growth. So it's important to be, really, open and honest with yourself about that. So they're just giving you some love and encouraging you to continue to be open and honest and be brave. And, if you're spending time with someone and you're like, I know I don't want to marry this person anymore, then it's important to get really, clear on that and then make decisions that are healthy for yourself in order, if that's what you want and you want to get married, then write down the qualities and start manifesting the type of person that you want. And don't be afraid and don't ever settle, because when we settle for one another, then we're cutting ourselves and the other person short. And a lot of times the greatest thing that we can do is, sending you love, sister. I saw that energy coming right in. And it's hard to be brave enough sometimes to leave a relationship or to choose ourselves, but the whispers of your soul and your intuition, don't let it go. And then what happens is when we force relationships to work, like, yes, it's important to put in healthy, positive work to co-create, but when we force it too much, then we all end up feeling resentful, and it just gets a little, like, it loses its steam. It gets a little uglier sometimes. And so sometimes it's just important to be brave enough to say, you know what, I need to take some space.
Yep.
So I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. I wish I could stay here all day and send you all love, but I have clients shortly, so I got to go tune in with them. Crystal, is there anything coming through for you or anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up today?
I feel like you just did that beautifully. You just came to a close beautifully. And also I guess I do. When it comes to relationships, like she's talking about, it doesn't matter if it's a relationship with a boyfriend, a spouse, friend, family member. Relationships are relationships. If we're not feeling it, then we're not feeling it for a reason. And so sometimes it's okay to just take a breath. Just take a breath, step away, and give yourself space. That's it. That's all you need sometimes. That's it.
With love and compassion and non-judgment.
I hope you have a great day with your clients and have a fun weekend, hon.
Crystal, how do people get a hold of you if they want to work with you?
I'm Mid-Mitten Medium. You can find me there, TikTok, Mid-Mitten Medium. You can find me on YouTube. Watch other videos that I have on YouTube at Spirit Speaks with Mid-Mitten Medium. And how can they find you, hon?
Beautiful. I am Mandy Elam, and you can find me on SeaGoddessHealingArts.com. Sea Goddess Healing Arts. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and I'm around, and I'm on Facebook too under Mandy Elam, and it would be an honor to hold space with you. So thank you, Crystal, for sharing this amazing time with me as always. I just love holding space with you, and thank you to Ursula for being our tech whiz behind the scenes and making sure we were good. Ursula. And thank you to everyone who tuned in and showed up and supported us, and thank you for allowing us to pass messages to you, because it was amazing.
Thank you all so very much. You have a great day. Happy 4th weekend. Be safe.
Happy 4th. Bye-bye.
Bye.